next topic I was going to talk to you about was this Journo who was only trying to report on the manifesto, who did release parts of the manifesto in
we finally got parts of the manifesto?
Yeah, I don't know if they were technically parts of the, I don't know what they're calling the manifesto, but they're saying they did release her goodbye letter that she left taped to her wall. They released, which didn't really have anything special in it. They released, I don't know, 20 or so snippets from her personal journal, many of which talked about her feelings of an imaginary phallus that she had and that she would do anything to get puberty blockers. It also had sections about how she would simulate snuggle time with her stuffed animals, where she was, in fact, the male. And
so, in other words, this individual was clearly insane.
Yeah, deranged, as are most people that do this kind of stuff.
I wonder why they didn't want to release the Tranifesto.
Well, take a look at the judge, just coincidentally. I mean, hashtag not all. But this judge, Democratic judge, has now, this morning, made Michael Patrick Leahy, who is the reporter that released the pages, show up in court today to release his sources, of which he, they want to know where he's getting the leaks from the manifesto. And he, of course, said, poop on you. I'm not releasing that. I'm not telling you who my source is.
There is a very double standard with regards to that, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If the G-men really want to go after you, they can jail you for not releasing your sources. If they don't really have a problem with it, well, that's okay. Well,
that's you could journalism. Ask Julian Assange.
Yeah. This is journalism. That's not journalism. What's the difference between them? We don't have a problem with this. We do have a problem with that. That's basically the litmus test.
Yeah, who's implicated by your journalism? That defines whether or not it's journalism.
Exactly.
And I think, again, I'll say this, as juicy as this story is, there has been really, of everything that's been released, none of it was like Joe Biden told me to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So them now hauling this guy into court this morning on, he basically had to go there and say, I forget what the trial is called, but like,
my penis exists in my head. I swear to God, I'm a male. He'll wrote.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's one of the things that was released.
Imagine having a penis up, where your brain head should be.
Yeah, no wonder. No wonder there's such a goofball. Am I right? I don't,
So I have a penis.
Yeah.
What am I fucking reading? Being raised as a girl was torture.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe. I finally found the answer. This part is implicative, in my opinion, because she talks about her journey basically through mental anguish and then realizing, quite coincidentally, I'm sure, that puberty blockers were the answer. It's just so coincides with, the Democrats in general, pushing this kind of stuff on youth. She learned that it was possible that you could change your gender, even though you can't. I think at the root of it,
back in the day, we used to call this just penis envy. And we used to not imbibe people in their delusions, and generally they didn't shoot up a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, they bought a strap on and they lived out their fantasy, and that was fine. What was her name? Wild Bill Hickok's sidekick there. Yeah,
what was her name? Calamity Jane.
Calamity Jane, yeah.
Calamity Jane was a lesbian, and she used a wooden strap-on to fuck prostitutes on a regular basis.
Yeah, and that's fine. What happened to that world, Styx?
Yeah, I mean, she probably shot people too, but some of them at least deserved it.
Yeah, right. That's
they were desperados,
that part is at least up for debate, that some of them deserved it. And so then he got to go into court this morning to basically say why this was a First Amendment issue, why him reporting this. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that there's some level of cover up here. I just haven't seen anything released. For me, like, the irony of it all is, I guess it's not ironic, but it's just, if they had just dropped everything a year ago, everyone would have already forgotten about this.
The thing is, though, it's inconvenient, so they don't want to drop anything. They're trying desperately to throttle the information simply because it's inconvenient. It's not even terribly inconvenient, but they know that it'll be fodder for people that, stand against that sort of thing. And so they don't want any of it getting out.
Yeah, it's extremely inconvenient for the, puberty blockers have no long-term negative effects. It's extremely inconvenient for big SSRI, big pharma. That's who it's really inconvenient for. I mean, everything that I saw, her parents seemed to be loving parents. They weren't beating on her. They weren't doing any, or him or her, I forget now, her. They weren't doing
biologically
anything.
Her, yeah.
Yeah. They weren't doing anything.
She fantasized about the dick,
She did, as, so we all do one time or another, right? But I've never felt like, I think there is something in the documents. I have no evidence of this, but there's something where she implicates some sort of organization, or, why does she pick the church? Why does she pick little kids? If there's something,
there's something deeper, and that hasn't been released yet, apparently, but that's probably what they're trying to cover up. That's why they would drag the Journo in there.
That's what I think too. I think that there's something that, and by the way, I could also see it be that she was somebody was inappropriate with her when she was young.
That's what I've
in the church.
I believe that the reason why the church was involved with everything that went on was specifically there was some sort of abuse that went on there.
That's what I think too.
And what I'm thinking is that the woke left doesn't want people to make the connection between sexual abuse, which is presumptive in this case, strongly presumptive, and having gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're trying to cover up. And I think that right wingers will go along with it because they don't want another, like, a priest abuse scandal sort of thing going on, like an Oliver O'Grady moment.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost this one's
Everyone
just convenient for
ignorant.
Yeah, this is probably good for both sides to go away, so to speak. Yeah. This one is one of those where the left definitely doesn't want out there. The right doesn't want it out there. And again, that's against my own, this would not, obviously I would prefer it was, not prefer, but it would be better for the narrative if it was oh, Hillary Clinton told me to do it or something like that. But even I'm this is probably both sides covering it up. A church, somebody did something to them when they were young.
I have a feeling there was sexual abuse at the church or something along those lines. And that caused a combination of dysphoria and rage. And literally nobody wants it to come to light.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's the most simple explanation,
Yeah, it never made any sense.
Because
if there was abuse at the church, then they should be prosecuted too. So you're covering it up. Was the headmaster still there? There's all sorts of layers of this that, even if it's not, even if it's not that they're covering up the left, I would want, if somebody was doing this at the church, I would want them to get, I would want them to receive, punishment for that. I'd want the victims to get justice. So yeah, it's very weird, that you would have this judge essentially doing the bidding probably for somebody. But again, it's they don't understand the Streisand effect, and even at a basic level, what are you doing? You're just making this Now you're making, they're trickling out this news every, 15 days.
Well, it's good that it becomes a bigger story, so the more people know that something like this happened.
Yeah, that's true. But now we need to know what it was. Now, like, that's what
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get full closure on that.